section. We began in KG1 here and studied up to class 5, and then we shifted to the junior section in the main building there. Initially the ground floor used to be the teachers' common room. Now I believe they've turned it into a classroom now. We used to have section 5A here, 5B there, and upstairs used to be the common room for the hostel students on the second floor.
And we're going to go inside the primary section. This is a staff room. Huh? This is the canteen corner, right? We're from a long way from a simple tin shed to a permanent concrete building. And during the tin shed days, there was this guy Dilip who used to run the canteen there. Now his son runs the show there. So yeah, this has a lot of memories.
And you should also tell them what are the things that are sold here, samosas and chutney.
Rotten,
no, unhealthy for health.
Unhealthy samosas, 2 days old samosas, and
but I mean that is what we craved
that's
for.
What we craved for. We used to get pocket money, 5 rupees a week.
That wasn't enough, so we had always some things piling up in his copy there.
Yeah.
So when our guardians came, they paid the remaining amount.
We had a khata, and then we used to note everything. Sometimes we used to run away, not pay, and most of the time.
In between, I must add, if they had eaten healthy, then they still are so healthy. How is it possible?
So you got adapted to it from the very beginning. Whatever you eat, your body is okay.
Good training, Okay, now we're going to go inside.
Now there are a number of sections. Initially there was where the school bell used to be hung.
Yeah.
There is a huge metal.
Primary room. So now we are heading to where we used to call our primary section hostel. There used to be a collapsible gate here. As you can see, it's been taken down. And we're going to slowly head towards what we used to call the dormitory and the box room sections.
And the study hall.
The study hall section.
This is the common room.
This used to be the common room earlier.
Classes.
Yeah,
one
now
class.
what you see is lots of desks and everything, but this is where we used to play our games, indoor games.
This was one big room.
And this was one big room, yeah, you're right.
There was a table tennis board and carrom board.
Yeah. This was one big room, and it extended all the way to here. There was a little cupboard, which I believe still is there, and those cupboards were used to store dry food and indoor games equipment.
We had biscuits and all. We used to bring from home and used to keep it there.
Yeah.
And we were supposed to share it with all our friends.
Yeah. And this was a temporary toilet. I don't know what it has been converted into.
These were the volleyball courts.
Yeah. And we'll come back to this.
This was the vice principal's office.
This was the vice principal's
Father
office.
Sanders.
Yeah.
Oh, Father Stellan.
Yeah. And this
was the study hall.
This used to be the earlier study hall before we shifted there.
The 3 rooms together.
Yeah.
They have partitioned it.
Yeah, the whole hall has been partitioned into 3 rooms. So.
And in that corner, Mrs. Munshi used to sit on a raised platform, and there was a board there. So if you had to write letters, she would scribble a few words, initial sentences, dear father and mother, I am keeping well, how are you, etc., etc. You were supposed to write that even if you are not well.
Yeah.
And thereafter you could add in vernacular, but those things had to be written down, and she would physically check if you have written it down.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's move to the next one.
So this is the length of the study hall, if I'm not
Also
mistaken.
the study hall.
Yeah, this was all the study hall. And
Then there was the
here on used to be the dormitory.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's a small box room in the corner.
But a very familiar sight from here, Hemadri, used to be
Mrs. Munshi's chair.
Mrs. Munshi's chair.
She used to sit down somewhere around.
Right,
I think
right over there.
Right.
Over here.
Yeah.
This is where Mrs. Munshi used to sit down in a chair with a fan and singing at night.
Rabindra Sangeet, to be more precise.
Yeah, Rabindra Sangeet singing at night. And that was a very familiar sight. And
loud, deep-throated voice.
Loud, deep-throated voice. And accidentally, if she heard any unpleasant noise, the song would stop. Hell breaks on loose on the guy who made that unpleasant noise. So this is where the dormitory used to be. They have all been split into classes. From that length, all the way to here, except for the last two doors. This entire length used to be the primary section dormitory, which used to house approximately 50 to 60 beds.
Students of class 4 and 5.
Yeah, 4 and 5.
Section A and Section B, hostel boys.
Yeah, and they also, I think, if I'm not mistaken, when I was here, I even saw people from as young as class 2. Class 2, 3,
in our times, hostel was class 4
onwards. So after that, they did take some class 2 students. They were very young, and they were only scared to take young students because they are not as free on their own. They're not as independent on their own. That was the good part of it. The last 2 rooms.
That's one room.
Yeah, last one room. Sorry. This room used to be the box room. We used to call it the box room, and they have taken out all the signs. They used to have 2 rows of almiras over here in the center, 2 rows of almiras, and then they would have these little boxes in our little compartments. And each compartment belonged to one student, and you could store all your stuff in there. And that's why we call it the box room, for everywhere else. And you would have your trunks on top of the almiras. And at the end of the session, when we went for school holidays, we used to take down the trunks, put all the stuff, and get going for the holidays. The next door is the shower.
Showers are not. This used to be the shower room come toilet.
This place that stinks really bad. This is to be the shower room. They have taken out all the taps, of course, because the hostel is closed down. But you would have roughly 30 taps on both sides. The toilets were not there. 30 taps and 30 shower heads on top.
They were the toilets were here always.
Toilets were here or it was on the
Toilets
outside?
were here. Because I remember this was closed. There was a veranda there. You could see there was primary section filled there. Toilets were in one corner. The shower was that side.
Oh.
Because when you went to the toilets, students' toilet, you can hear it.
Yeah.
And these mulberry trees are testimony to a lot of history.
Yeah, the mulberry trees have been
Ashoka
there.
trees, to be precise. They are mulberry Ashoka trees. And I remember them since my KG1 days. And even senior people. They have the unique thing that they also act as pillars for these boundary walls.
This is to be our primary section chair, which I can try to fit in if I can reduce some of my weight. But yeah, the chair that we all used to sit in the primary section study rooms. Okay, over the years, the school has had a lot more students, because of which the number of sections have also increased. So the numbering of the classes are very different now. But as far as I remember, until the last days of the school hostel, this used to be the class 5
5A and 5B.
And because class 5 used to be the senior most class, they used to have the bell, the primary section bell that they used to ring. So the bell used to be kept somewhere there, and or it used to be hung up here. And oh yeah, rather it's actually.
So it was actually hung up there. Shuman?
Yeah.
There used to be a big brass bell there.
Yeah. Before this bell came about, this is actually a railway track. If you notice a part of it or something like that, there used to be a big brass bell that used to.
The school captain used to ring it.
And
the primary section
school
captain.
captain could ring it, yeah. And unfortunately, there's no more mango tree here. There used to be a big mango tree over here in place of this tree, and we used to pluck mangoes from every direction, from down there, from up here, and we always had Dayanand and Mathuri chasing us, or Father Steno chasing us. Trying to get rid
At
of.
one point of time, they leased the mango trees.
Yeah.
So there were some gentlemen who had leased it and used to chase us one corner to the other. So when you went to the right, we went to the left. And then it went on hide and seek throughout the night.
Yeah. I mean, sorry, I really feel sorry for the gentlemen who actually leased the trees, because they didn't know that we had a bunch of like 300 odd monkeys in the hostel who could easily get rid of all the sweet mangoes on the tree, and the only mangoes he was left with are the sour ones. So, after that we'll cover the field downstairs. Okay, we're gonna go downstairs. Not much to be said about the classes on this row. They used to start during the times I remember. They used to start from 2A, 2B, all the way to 4A, 4B here. Something that I can very interestingly recollect, there used to be a librarian and teacher, Mrs. Meenakshi. Meenakshi. And if she sees me, she's going to bash me up wherever she is from. But I am told, I was never her student, but I am told that she used to collect money for letting students go to the toilet. So if you're in a class and you really urgently need to go to pee, she would collect 1 paise. That was 25 years back. She would collect 1 or 2 paise, and only then she would let you go to the toilet. So, for certain reasons, some students thought that it was a very expensive amount, so they could hold the pee along.
The very far end of the corridor, so we had KG1A, KG1B, KG1, KG2, KG2A, KG2B, class 1, and it ended with class 1B here. Ms. Srivastava was the class teacher of class 1A, and she was really very strict, so much so that, we were so scared of her. The fear is still there. She used to teach us Bangla and Hindi also, and she used to be field here, boys used to play there. And the fag end of the corridor, we had a small outdoor for going to the primary section field. And we had tiny tots moving around in a different time. And there were small little benches, not benches exactly, one small chair and one small desk for each student. It's still there in the KG sections. You could try taking a picture of one of those small benches here. So we have a...
You have to sit.
This is what they call adult education. So now somebody all the way from Singapore has come to attend a class 2 classes here. Class 1A and class 1B. This is the private teacher's room, and teachers used to sit here. Now as you can see, converted into KG to D. Now they have section A, B, C, D. And we have a couple of teachers who have been evaluating answer scripts at the fag end of the day, and that is light little girl there sitting there. This is where we came with our copies to get it corrected by teachers or to collect them.
for a short period of time, that's of course somewhere around the 84 or 5, I remember this used to be the primary section study hall. Now this is again being converted to a classroom. Alright, so we are entering the dining hall right now, and as most of you would recollect, this is where Mr. and Mrs. Munshi used to sit over here, and this is where they used to have the dinner. And these are the same old dining tables that are still there, and the same old benches. And this is how long the dining table used to be, our dining hall used to be, if you guys remember. Now there's a partition. So now this dining hall has been converted into a library, but other than that, pretty much other than the partition, the length of the hall, as you can see, still remains. So this is how big our dining hall used to be, if you guys remember. And the entrance to the dining hall was on the right, over here, where the food and everything else used to come from the pantry. And outside is still the generator room as usual. There is still those little stands that used to hold the tape recorder over here, and these boxes used to hold the pickles and those little condiments we used to have during our lunch. So yeah, some of those little remnants of things that we had over here. We are moving into the study hall. This used to be the senior section study hall, and how long you spent here?
From class 6 to class 10, that is about.
Oh, so when you were here, it was the study hall in the primary section?
The junior section, we had study hall there.
There, so this was 8 to 10.
8 to 10.
8, 9, 10, same year. So this is the time that we spent over
This
here.
was class 8 sat in the first
Yeah.
half of the hall.
Yeah.
9, 10 sat in the second half of the hall.
Yeah.
So it was somewhere around. This is where class 10 sat.
Yeah.
And 8 to 9 sat.
Yeah, 8 and 9 used to sit in front, and the prefect used to sit in front there.
There was a dais there, a table,
Yeah.
a chair for the prefect.
Yeah. And he had a bird's eye view from this point. From this point, he used to look at the entire hall.
There used to be a raised platform.
Raised platform over here.
Stand up there, and the entire hall can be seen from there. So anybody reading the place where you used to sit for the ICSE examinations, so the hostelers had to remove their desks on one side, and there used to be sitting arrangements for the ICSE exams. So it invokes a lot of memories that way.
The prefect. I'll show you how he used to read comic books and how the prefects used to read.
You used to have a practical copy in front of
We
you.
used to have a practical copy in front, and the comic book used to be down. So if the head is down, then the prefect knows that the guy is reading the comics.
He just
right?
passes, imagines it as if nothing is happening, he goes
Yeah.
around with it,
Yeah.
and turns from behind someone, what are you doing, and takes it out from there.
So that's exactly what used to happen.
And the magazine is seized when you go home, take it from because how you say.
So yeah, so if you have to read comics, you have to read outside the study.
No, I think we have to need permission. First, during 1.5 hours, first 1 hour needed to be solid study hour.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
remaining half an hour just need permission. Father, can I read the story book now? Can I read the magazine now? Or something like that.
Yeah. And then when there used to be load shedding, when the electricity used to go off, windows used to had to be open, and the generator noise all coming in.
The jail used to be right down below this,
Yeah.
on the ground floor. Immediately, it's still there. I think it's still there. The room, this is it.
Yeah.
That's to its pump room. There's a pump house. I think I should open the window. Maybe take this. The generator downstairs there, and this one.
Now, this is the passageway that takes us to what we had was our senior section and junior section box rooms and the study hall. This is the study hall that we went through just now, and in front is where the junior section study hall.
And the shower room beside it.
And the shower room was beside. Okay. As you can hear the noise, like we were talking about, this is the right now this is the biology lab, but this was earlier the shower room and the box room for primary junior section. As you can hear the noise here, the generator room has not changed. It is still there in the corner, and the generators are still working perfectly fine. Here is a different story right now. This has changed into a lab, but earlier it used to be the shower room. This half of it used to be, this pillar used to be this box room, and you could walk in here into the shower room over here. Okay? The only remnant, the only thing that's left over of the shower room is this basin. This basin was there all along, and it's still there, so I guess they use it for the lab, but that's pretty much it. Speaking of lab, something that still reminds us of old memories is the skeleton here. This was all along there. Even in our old lab, this skeleton was there. I think this is a new addition. I don't know whichever one of these is a new addition, but one of them was there all along. And if I'm not mistaken, yeah, it used to be hung. So if you shake the hand, it looks like it came alive or something. Like if you shake it a little bit, and that used to be very scary for a lot of young kids at that time. Yeah, I think that's so much for our bathroom and shower room. This is a very old stopwatch which we use in the lab, and I'm surprised to see they're still in good working condition. I don't know how many years it has been. I hope there's a manufacturing date, but unfortunately I can't find it. But yeah, as you can see, it's in perfect working condition. We use this in our physics labs. We use this to measure time and for different experiments. Test tube holders are still there, and everything else is pretty much there. Even the old Bernal, whatever we used to call this, I forgot.
Okay, there used to be a Bunsen burner.
Bunsen burner underneath it. These were the old holders for it, and a lot of old things are still around here. Yeah,
yes, they're using this instead.
Yeah. At that time we had burners with pipes connected all over the lab.
Those kerosene lamps.
Yeah, but nowadays I guess they use these lamps for it. So we went through the study hall, we went through the junior section, box room, the shower room. Now we're going up to the old dormitory. Okay? And as we go, the strange thing is there's toilets in between the staircases. Yeah, and I remember there were a lot of I remember there were a lot of pranks that were played here in the toilet. I remember there was some time back, one of the years, somebody stuck up chewing gum in the holder of the lamp, and because of that, the entire building's fuse kept getting blown away again and again. So people couldn't find out why is it that they turn on the main power and the entire building fuse goes off. So after a lot of detection, Father Gut, if I'm not mistaken at that time, found out that somebody played a prank and stuck up a chewing gum in the lamp holder up in the dormitory. Okay, and this used to be the primary section dormitory. Now this is the junior section dormitory, sorry. And now this is the physics. Yeah, it looks like, yes, it is the physics lab. And as you enter the dormitory,
exhibition exhibits.
Yeah. As you enter the dormitory, there used to be beds all along this side, and this used to be the prefect's room. Now you can see the prefect still out here. Yeah. This used to be the prefect's room. It's a storeroom now, and one prefect for the junior section and one prefect for the senior section. They had the, they could stay here. You know, they could just barely stay here and maybe just one bed with some bare equipments of like a radio or a tape recorder. They could stay here inside this room and yeah, basically look after all the kids in the junior section. The beds, they would be roughly, I think, the pillars are still there, so I'm roughly hoping there were 3 or 4 lines of beds placed in this manner. And yeah, between the beds there would be boxes. This is one of the old cupboards. This is one of the old cupboards. This is how a typical cupboard would be shared between 2 students. Of course, there's junk right now, but each cupboard used to be shared by 2 students. So one would keep the stuff on the right and one would keep the stuff on the left. And
they could lock it independently.
And they would lock it independently, just like that. Right? So that's how the old cupboards used to be. So this is one of the few remnants of the hostel days. And yeah, I think that's pretty much what we can say about the junior section dormitory. We're going to move on to the senior section. Talking about the physics lab, a lot of things are very old in this lab. For example, this barometer. This actually is a very, very old barometer that has seen decades in the school. Yeah, that is one of them. Talking about these weighing machines. These weighing machines are very old. Yeah, they're very dirty, but they're very old, and they have also seen a lot of students. Talking about these, this prism, it's a very old prism, and all these electrical machines, all these are very, very, very old. Yeah. I think that's it. At night, sometimes during the exam times, we would actually study late at night, and because we used to not study during the entire course, just 1 month or 2 months before the exams, we would try to turn on night lamps, candles, whichever way we can, and then study at night over here. So what happens is, the moment you turn on lights here, the lights can be very clearly seen by the prefects or the fathers that used to stay there, because they would see a little glimmer in the entire dark, so they would know that there is somebody who's studying at night. And if they saw that light, they would come down rushing just to find out who are the people, and then, you know, they would obviously get thrashed or punished for turning on lights or turning on candles in the middle of the night just to study more, because it kind of doesn't make sense that way. So yeah, those were the little things that bring back old memories of the junior section that was used to store. This is still there for the old days for the old students. Okay, so we just went into the physics lab, and now we are going to go. This was early the primary section, junior section. This was early the junior section dormitory, and now if you remember, this is the dormitory that we are going to enter. Dormitory signs are still there, and a lot of cobwebs. So this does feel like a deja vu sometimes. I'm sure you all will remember this room, as you know, the prefects room in this corner over here. This is where a lot of prefects used to stay, have a lot of prefects. This room has seen a lot of prefects, and little remnants of the old days. like I said, they used to have a few equipments, and I'm sure you remember it. I'm sure you guys will remember a lot of pranks that we used to play over here on the prefects. We used to leave oil, and there was a little gap. This wooden plank was erected after some time, because what happened is, remember, we used to, you know, when the last days when we used to leave, we used to throw stuff inside the room, like oil bottles and stuff like that. After which they put the little plank up there so that people can throw stuff. And then they made this wall, because the other side of it is a girls' common room now, and since it's a co-ed school. But if you remember, the dormitory was twice as big, and there were almost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows of beds. Almost in this entire dormitory. So 7.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah,
There are 3.
Yeah, almost 7 rows of beds. We're going to go walk to the place where we used to hang our clothes. That was like a dry room or whatever. This tap, if you all recollect, was built somewhere around the late 80s, 88, 9, somewhere there. And it was supposed to be used for drinking water only, but people used to use it for all sorts of stuff. This, remember, if you recollect, this was the entire length of our dormitory. And that room over there, if you guys remember, that was the room where we used to store all our luggage during the holidays. When we used to go for our holidays, we did not need to take everything, like for example beddings and stuff. We would leave in that room. We were allowed to leave our excess luggage there. Unfortunately, we can't go in from this side, but if you guys remember, this room, which you can access from this side, we used to store all our wet clothes we used to hang our wet clothes in there for it to dry. Yeah. There are exams going on right now, so I can't shout a lot, but if you guys remember, after 9:30, when we used to finish our study, we would take our books through this passage out to the classrooms. This is how we have the classrooms. And we would keep our books in the classrooms and then go to the we would keep our books into the classrooms, and then we would go into the assembly. At that time, long back, the assembly used to be held here. But before the assembly was held here, this 4 squares that you see, the 4 squares were not really tiled. We used to call this Cadbury tiles because they are in the shape of Cadburys. So these 4 squares were not yet tiled because there used to be little gardens, 4 little gardens, and that was something that Father Gart used to really treasure a lot. There were a lot of roses, and Father Gart used to really love those roses, and he used to really nurture them. Anybody who used to pluck one of them, I guess you guys would have remembered how he used to scream and shout. So later on, over the years, the tiles were built, the gardens were removed, and the assemblies used to be held here.
Still is used here, but it's only for the senior classes here.
Oh.
Junior classes have it here, senior classes have it here.
So the assemblies, the assembly is still held here, but it's split into 2. The senior classes held here, and the junior classes are held on the other side. And we're going to move on to the classes. Right behind me is the bell that is again broken into half over time. And this is the bell that is used to sound out the entire school with the stick. I guess I can't ring that now. These are the classes. These are the classrooms. a classroom that brings us some memories. I'm sure you guys will remember. This classroom has changed many numbers, but the most important thing about this classroom was this plaque. This never changed. This brings us memories of our students who passed away in the Ganges. There is Julius Muru down there near the Ganges, whether it's Animation Sujat. In fact, Mr. Munshi was never very comfortable taking classes in this room. Obviously, the reasons are there. And if he had any classes, it was always given in the other room. Now we are going to the topmost floor, and this is the place from where you can see the entire school in front. This floor has a lot of significance, if you guys remember, apart from the fact that you can see a good view from this. During the common rooms times, during the weekends, Saturday and Sunday, we would place our shawls over here and we would study here. We would put our carpets or bed sheets or whatever, and we would study over here during that time because it was winter and we wanted the sun. Instead of being in the study hall, it used to be very cold. This room, which is now 5A, used to be used for a lot of multi-purpose activities. I remember at one point in time, at least during my times, it was used for prayer services. I don't know if you guys have more inputs, just keep it coming for the website. If I'm not mistaken, even Hindi classes used to be held here at one point in time. This used to be earlier, if you guys remember, our library and the 3 labs. Unfortunately, there's a class going on right now. This used to be the old reading room, and this used to be the physics and the chemistry lab, and one of the labs used to be there, and the library used to be here. This is the entrance to the common room. I remember the hostel captains had the keys over here and the gates would be locked. So if you had to book a table tennis game, sometimes you'd have to queue over here before the hostel captains open the gate, and you have to get your numbers over here sometimes. And that was for a short while until the rules changed. And out of desperation, some of the guys would actually squeeze their head in between this gap to go inside the common room. That is the most interesting part of it. We were so small, we could squeeze our head in through there. And now we're going into the basement of the common room, which you guys remember we used to play indoor games. This is the basement. Oh. They're cleaning it up, not of dust, but this is the basement where we used to practice. If you guys remember, even during the concert times, we used to practice a lot of drama, and a lot of skits used to be practiced over here by the teachers. And on the left and the right are the old common rooms. You can see this little gap here. This is where the speakers used to be. They covered it up. Yeah, the speakers used to be here. Now this is the Caribbean room, whatever it is. But this used to be the seniors' common room. The table tennis used to be right here. This is where the table tennis used to be. The speakers and the music system used to be here. Yeah. And
used to be a Sonora deck.
Sonora deck, yeah. And that used to be the primary section.
Junior section.
That is the junior section from the room. And as you can see, the table tennis balls are still there, but not in a very good shape. Yeah. The only one that seems to have survived is the This used to be the old stationery, and now this is converted into the present principal's office, the current principal's office, the English section. This door and the next door here used to be the teacher's staff room, or the staff room for this English section earlier. Now this has been converted again. This used to be the parlor, the waiting area for hostel parents and the hostel students. And this is the notice board. All the notices used to be posted here, the school notice board. This has seen a lot of happiness and tears because the ICC examination results used to be hung over here. And this used to be the actual principal's office. Now this is the Hindi medium father headmaster's office. This used to be the old clerk's office, which is still the same. Amongst the fields, these two fields were interchangeably used, but primarily we used to play volleyball. So you can see the demarcation. So you can see the demarcation is not there. Much of the demarcation is gone. But these two fields used to be primarily used for the volleyball. And behind these two fields, we have the basketball fields. The basketball courts are no more there. There used to be the basketball court exactly.
So when the basketball court used to be there, where the building is there now, that is where the primary section field used to be there for the small tots. Class 4 boys used to play there.
Oh, that was when?
That was in 1978, 79.
Okay. After that, they built a basketball court.
There
were two basketball courts. One was there, right where the bars are. Behind the goal post, there's the bars. There was one basketball court there, and there was one court here, and which came in later. But before that, like Himadri mentioned,
yeah, that is where the primary section boys used to play. Those who were not at all good in games were to be put there. So you actually graduate to a higher field every time you play a little better. Yeah. And I remember one particular incident where Mrs. Munshi beat all the hostelers, primary section hostelers. We were playing volleyball and it was supposed to rain on that day. And suddenly what happened, there was a hailstorm. So we all collected these hails, in our pockets, and all of us got utterly drenched. So when he went up in the box room, she was standing there, and all of us had got wet. She told the captain to bring a stick. He couldn't find one, so he told him to get an umbrella. She took the stick of the umbrella and began with the captain. 4 for him and 2 each for all of us. Just because we had got wet collecting hailstones.
Okay, all these fields are actually have sort of like a categorization. This field all along used to be the senior most field.
That's where we used to have the sports also.
This is where we used to have all the sports. This is where you used to have all the matches. Yeah. Recently there was a Hindi school sports event. This is where all the historical events took place, which means cricket matches with St. Xavier's versus Purani Sahibganj, and cricket matches between St. Xavier's and Railway College and other institutions. The biggest historical matches, the biggest achievements, the most emotional events took place here for those who were in track and field and those who were in all sorts of sports and games. Senior field used to be a field that was used by junior section. That field was one of the 2 fields that was given to the junior section. There were basically 2 fields for primary section. You can't see the 2 fields now very clearly because there is a little barricade there, but previously that used to not be there. So there were 2 primary section fields which used to spill over on the road, and there were 2 goalposts, or rather 2 sets of goalposts, which used to be used for the primary section. This field obviously was for the senior section, the one here, and the one next closest to the wall used to be for the junior section. Yeah? And there is one more field which is right across the road that side. That field used to be used for senior section. Senior section had 3 fields, and that was one of the fields that was used for the senior section.
There's one in front of the father's refectory also.
There's one in front of the father's refectory. We will catch up later. At extreme end, there's the sisters' convent, And next to the sisters' convent,
The yellow colored building was where the teachers stayed. Mrs. Munshi used to stay there.
next to the sisters' convent is the teachers' quarter, and we're gonna walk towards Mr. and Mrs. Munshi's premises right now. And behind is the temple. It's not really iconic to the school, but the interesting part of this temple is that every morning we used to be woken up by the loud music of the temple, the bhajans of the temple, and you know, it used to carry on until almost like 6:37 p.m. And that is the same time when the sisters from the sisters convent used to go for mass. And that is the iconic part about the temple. No offense meant to any religions, by the way. This on the left is the sisters convent, and like I mentioned, the building right next to the sisters convent on the left is where Mr. and Mrs. Munshi used to stay.
On the ground floor, that is.
On the ground floor, and right now there are other families staying there. But you can see in the porch area, that is where Mr. and Mrs. Munshi's chair used to be. And during the games time, they would sit down there, and they would very intently watch all the primary school students. So the primary fields used to be here, like I mentioned, on my left. And if something went wrong, if some seniors by accidentally or juniors accidentally touched a primary school student, hell break loose on those students. This is Mr. and Mrs. Munshi's residence. This was, rather. And we are now going to the teacher's quarter. And Himadri, over to you.
I believe Mr. Martin used to be here, and there was Pete Honker. Mr. Banerjee used to stay in this room, and Pete Honker was Mr. Banerjee's nephew. And this is the first floor actually. The second floor came up much later. And on that side, we have this is other teachers. On the ground floor of the two-story building, we had only the ground floor then. But on the left we had Mr. Mian, on the right we had Mrs. James staying, and then Margaret and Rosie, both of whom taught in school for some time, and Mrs. James' children. And Mr. Mian was very famous for his biology classes and for his inimitable style of talking in English, and for his ready-made solutions. So if you did not want to attend classes and if you had a problem, he would say, no head, no headache. That means if you had a problem, find a solution, don't cut the problem out. So that's when Bobby used to dry his clothes. We have other buildings. So all these buildings have become, they have added to the top floor also, but otherwise they were all ground floor buildings. In the extreme corner, the building came up newly. Even this is a new construction. I mean, when I say new, I mean it wasn't there when we were students.
Yeah, so it's within the, when we say new, means it's in the last 20 years.
23 years, 26 years or so. And that on the ground floor we have Mr. Ashok Tiwari's residence. And there used to be another gate here when I was in the kindergarten. We used to enter through this side, but now they have closed the gate and they have residence of, I believe, the Darwan or the people there. But this was a beautiful place. There were trees lined up on both sides on a beautiful avenue, and the rickshaws is to enter this way as to go this way. It was beautiful at that point of time, but now they have closed out. Mr. M.K. Viswas's ghotta? Bobby's house used to be on one side of it, and the other side was Mr. M.K. Viswas used to stay. But I believe they have broken it down and just one small quarter is there. Since there is no more the hostel, Dhobi is no longer there.
This one was to be.
If I am not mistaken, this is the building which was inaugurated by Mother Teresa when she came here for the Silver Jubilee functions in school. And I remember we entered inside. That was the first time we were allowed to enter into the Sisters Convent. This was inaugurated by Mother Teresa, and she spent a little time here. She was there for the whole day since morning.
This is the Xavier's
Avenue. The old
Avenue.
trees are gone now because they were moth-eaten or insect-eaten, so they had been replaced by new mulberry trees and sal trees.
Yeah.
And the wood that they got from there were converted into benches for the examination hall and other classrooms. So bad a shape.
Has a lot of significance for Zaverians. These were not erected till 1983. 83 was the year when Julius Mumu drowned in the river. The river actually cost the lives of two, or rather three people, as per the records go. One was Julius Mumu in 1983, and then of course it was Animesh and Sujat way before that. Sujat was Mr. and Mrs. Munshi's son, and that was the sad side of the river. But the good side of the river was we had a lot of fun here. I mean, if I recollect correctly, as long as Father George was here, he used to get the senior section guys to barricade with bamboo a little swimming pool, you know, and there would
he personally supervise and those people who didn't know how to swim.
Yeah, he would personally
there
help
is another
them.
thing very important about the river, especially on Holi, on the occasion of Holi. There used to be two huge hired country boats, and they used to row and take us to the other side of the Ganges.
Yeah.
And the tents were pitched there. There were cooks and there were teachers there, and the part of the Ganges were barricaded, and we played Holi there. We played with colors, and there's a big island there. There's much of greenery now. There used to be it was a barren island at that point.
And we could get down and dirty, and there were, I remember there were sugarcane plantations.
There was a river dolphin just now. Very rare species actually. So we used to go to the other side of the Ganges, spend the whole day there, have our lunch, and come back totally exhausted. And so that way the school didn't get dirty, and we had a hell of a time, and we really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I remember that it was a fun way to get down and dirty with colors and everything, without, like Hamad said, without getting the school dirty. And we had sugarcane plantations there, and when we used to go there, we were a nuisance because we were not supposed to really plug the sugarcane plantations, but the people
walked a long way off. I mean, somewhere very deep inside.
Yeah, and that people wouldn't mind because, you know, after all, how many sugarcanes can the students eat? So sometimes they used to let us go, even though we plugged.
A few lucky ones used to find turtle eggs there, somewhere buried in the sand there.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of adventure because it was all barren, and we used to find out newer things, used to make sand castles on the other side and sand structures, and whole day spent there. In the evening used to come here.
I have to say one more thing, that as long as people like Father George was here, we always had something exciting to do in the water. Father George was here before my time, and he left between the 85 and 90, and he came on and off again. But as long as he was here, we always had a hell lot of a fun time.
He always found out certain things to keep us entertained, something out of the ordinary, not the grind of the meal routine work. Taking us to there, I'm supposing somebody gave a motorboat, he took us for a ride around, and then I think it was one of those motorboat kayak rides that actually sucked in Julius. This 80 years there.
The canoe, sailboat canoe converted to canoe, that kind of stuff.
was a Silver Jubilee Hall. It was built in 1982 by Mother Teresa. And we had very sweet memories of this hall. Earlier, many of you might remember that we had an old hall just beside the Ganges on the left of the cottage, and we used to watch movies there twice a week. And there used to be concerts and functions there. We had a lot of dramas there enacted by Father George, who was a director. Submerged was one of such dramas there. And then this hall was made, and it's a beautiful hall, much larger one than the older one. When this hall was being made, we had to play a lot of jokes around. The floor was being polished and they had put wax on it, so as to come and sneak into our way and skied along. Then it was made official. We were allowed to ski for one particular day to ensure that we polished it faster than the laborers. And we had a beautiful stage there. We used to have English, Bangla and Hindi dramas there. And Father Steno was very meticulous about how he did the dramas. So we had a huge curtain at the back, and it was to be painted for a month, or Hamlet or whatever Shakespearean play he opted to have it. We also had nice stage settings at that point of time. And that, as we'll all remember very fondly, the school emblem on the left side, yellow and red, with Serio e Constante as the school's motto, seriously and constantly.
And if I may recollect correctly, during the school concerts, at least till the 90s and around there, every time there was a school concert, considering the ratio of the students at that time used to be 1,000, you guys would remember how the entire hall used to be packed all the way till the end, so much so that people used to stand on those benches, those little benches there at the end. People would stand on them just to watch us do our acts.
And this hall also has certain other memories. We used to have prayer service there on various occasions, be it Diwali or Buddha Jayanti or any other festivals. We just had a lamp on the table there, and the father would light the lamp and the teachers would say something, if your students would say something. There were no pictures, nothing, the lamp was there.
And we had these little prayer lines that would go along, talking about certain hymns, and there would be those little prayer lines that would talk about the different atrocities and crimes that were committed, and people used to suffer because of them, and the victims, and used to pray for them. So,
on one particular occasion, it was a Diwali day, and we had a prayer service here in the evening. So Father Gert was there. Everybody was given a small candle. So you all entered by lighting the candle and entered the hall. Lights were given off, and we had a silent prayer service. And after the prayer, we went for a nice dinner, sumptuous dinner. And suddenly it got into our table. Somebody from our table said, "Why can't we have a candlelight dinner?" And we went to Father Gert. Father Gert was there in the dining hall. "Father, can you please switch off the lights?" He said, "Why? We want to have a candlelight dinner." So everybody had one of those candles. So 8 boys in one table. All the 8 candles lit up. The entire hall was lit up with candles. So it was very memorable that we had a candlelight dinner that way.
Yeah. We're going to walk and try to recollect certain things on the stage. And if you guys remember, there was this trumpet box here. I don't know if it's still there, but it used to be here. Apparently, okay, the speaker is here. I'm going to try to remove this and see if it is still there, the prompter's box. And yes, there you go, there you go. Here it is. And this used to be the prompter's box.
There would be somebody sitting down there.
There would be somebody sitting down there, and you know, people forgetting lines. There would be 3 prompters for big dramas, especially the English ones with a lot of Shakespearean language. You guys would remember that. And those of you who were never a part of the stage activities, you guys should know now that the reason why we could tell our lines all there was because there was 1 prompter here and 2 across the wings. Actually, for quite a few decades, I've never seen, after I left Xavier's, I've never seen a stage as big as this. There were 4 wings, right? And like Himadri was talking about, the curtains used to be hung from here. Or rather, this is a temporary partition. This was not there earlier. There were curtains behind it. For quite some time, if you guys remember, in this hall we had movie screenings, and the projectors used to be played from halfway in the hall there, and the curtain used to be here, if you guys remember. This is the main control section. These are the old spotlights. Wow, it feels like, I don't know, very, very old. and I'm sure it's not used anymore. This was the main control section. The curtains used to be controlled from here. There would be one light man or one person directing the lights, and there used to be an entire script for every drama, for every event that we were doing, and he would have to follow the lights. There were numbers beneath here, you know, the M's and the B's and the F's and whatever they used to indicate. This was the main switchboard for the hall inside, controlling all the fans, as you can see. And now these were temporary stairs that were used for many dramas, you know, just to climb up, go down, whatever. Quite dirty right now, but this is the green room. Unfortunately, this is from this side, but let's see if we can enter from the other. And I guess not. But the green room has a lot of memories, you know. The green room has so many memories that we just can't list all of them, but those of you who took part in stage activities, you would remember that Mrs. Munshi used to do all the makeup stuff from the green room. That was the only time she forgot her primary sections. You know what I mean? See, every time, every 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, she can take care of her kids. But those 4 or 5 days, remember, she used to totally forget about her kids, and she used to spend all her time in doing the best makeups. And the last part of this hall, there's a little balcony up here. We rarely came up here, but this is one place where you could get a very nice bird's eye view of the entire fields. Unfortunately, that's covered by this jackfruit tree in front. But earlier, you could get a very good coverage of the field from here.